Lena Petrova stared at the screen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Each keystroke was a hammer blow, each click echoing the relentless beat of her heart. She was downloading every piece of evidence she had uncovered, every shred of data that proved the horrific truth. With each passing second, the weight of her decision pressed down on her. There was no turning back. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across her cluttered desk, Lena finished. Her expose was complete. She had meticulously documented every anomaly, every falsification, every lie that had been used to convict Elias Thorne. It was a dossier that could bring down the entire edifice of the police force, shatter the reputation of men who had once been considered heroes. But Lena had no intention of letting it rest there. She had already contacted an investigative journalist, a lone wolf known for taking on powerful figures. Now her only hope was that he would believe her, that he would see the truth in the reams of data she had compiled. Her phone buzzed, the contact ID flashing on the screen. Lena took a deep breath, her pulse quickening. Was this the moment she had dreaded? Or was this where it all began? She answered the call. The voice on the other end was gruff, a seasoned reporter who had seen his fair share of battles. Lena wasted no time. She went straight to the point, outlining what she had discovered, the flaws in the evidence, the testimonies that had been coerced, the lives that had been destroyed. She laid it all out, hoping he would understand the gravity of what she was offering. But the response she got was not what she expected. The journalist was intrigued, but he wanted more. He asked for proof, for irrefutable evidence that would stand up in court. Lena hesitated. She knew she had crossed a line, stepped into a world where truth was often the first casualty. But she also knew that this was the only way. If she played their game, if she spoke their language, she might just have a chance. She spent the next few days poring over data, looking for that smoking gun, the one piece of evidence that would convince not just the journalist, but the public, the courts, the very city that had blindly trusted those in power. As she delved deeper, the picture that emerged was one of a vast conspiracy, one that made her blood run cold. The men she had trusted, the badge that had once symbolized justice, were now tarnished beyond recognition. She felt like Alice down the rabbit hole, falling deeper and deeper into a world that made no sense. When she finally met with the journalist again, she had what she needed. She had the evidence, the kind that left no room for doubt, that tore down the carefully constructed facades, exposing the rot that lay beneath. The article was published the following week, and it was a bombshell. It detailed everything Lena had uncovered, the lies, the manipulations, the corruption. It shook the city to its core. Protests erupted, demanding justice for Elias Thorne and an overhaul of the police force. But amidst the chaos, Lena found herself in a nightmare scenario. Her expose had come at a cost. Her colleagues, once indifferent, now viewed her with suspicion. Her boss, the man who had tried to silence her, had washed his hands of her. She was on her own. She had unleashed forces she couldn't control, exposed a truth that threatened to tear the city apart. Meanwhile, Detective Sergeant Keller, the architect of the conspiracy, was nowhere to be seen. He had vanished, leaving behind a city he had once patrolled, a force he had once led, a legacy he had so painstakingly built. But Lena knew that the game was not over. She had struck a blow that echoed through the corridors of power. And as the dust settled, she saw the first signs of change. Investigations were launched, reforms were demanded, and for the first time in a long time, the scales of justice seemed to tilt towards truth. In a world where truth was often the first casualty, Lena had dared to speak up. In a city where justice had been bought and sold, she had brought the light of truth. Her story was a beacon, a reminder that in the darkest of times, one person's courage could indeed make a difference. The question was, how many people were ready to listen?